Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is a profile on Sir J. Robert Bradley. And we're fortunate to have with us to give us a profile on Sir J. Robert Bradley, Minister Gregory Taylor. Of course, Reverend Taylor, let me apologize for stumbling into your name this morning.
No problem.
As if I don't know you.
No, no problem.
But very good. Let me thank you for coming by, really, and giving us an opportunity this morning, Reverend Taylor, to talk about an individual that I know that you know something about, because you've talked to us on so many different occasions in reference to Sir J. Robert Bradley.
Yes,
See,
sir.
and I think that on many occasions I've simply referred to him as J. Robert Bradley,
Yes.
but you always made me aware that he was a Sir J. Robert Bradley,
Yes.
giving him a greater distinction than simply saying that he was a singer and a musician.
Yes.
Let's talk, and we want to talk about that, Reverend Taylor. As
Yes.
a matter of fact, we want to get as much information as we possibly can. But before we get into that, let's have you to give us some information about you.
Yes.
And some information in reference to your background, your education, and some of the experiences that brought you to us this morning. And by the second segment, we'll have an opportunity to talk about Sir J. Robert Bradley and his influence and make people aware of who he was.
Yes.
Let's do it from that
Sure.
perspective.
Well, Dr. Haney, my name is Gregory Taylor. I'm from Northport, Alabama, and I spent a lot of years in school playing in my hometown on the park. These things are very impressionable to me. And playing on the park, on the hill, on the park is where Dr. J. Robert Bradley sang at my childhood church. And I've had the opportunity since I've been here to fulfill a vision that I had before leaving my hometown. And in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, we have one building. It's an 11-story building. And I used to go up high as I could in that building and imagine myself being away from Northport and Tuscaloosa, sending information back and speaking about where I've come from and where I am now. And when I came here, back here in 2008, I met Dr. Chris Jackson, found out that Dr. Bradley had a CD and that his music was out there. And so that was just very exciting, because when I left my hometown, I had done inventory on the city. And the most important thing there was a memory of the pure old spirituals of the church. And the city is also known for Archibald barbecue. Even it's known in England. And these are the things, in my background. I remember spending a lot of time hunting birds, playing ball on the park, and things like that. And today we've been communicating with the City Council about honoring this park in memory of the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps. And it is something that's on the Bicentennial Mall here. I didn't know the things about the park that I did. And my father was in the CCC, and the Civilian Conservation Corps, and General John C. Marshall credited those men training with what won World War II. And recently, I discovered that his first desire going into CCC was to be an artist and to also a sculptor. And so what has taken place here, those things have come together in my person, including Dr. Bradley. And so this is just quite a meaningful experience to have connected to the Asia Pacific Theater through my father, who was in World War II in Japan, and just so many different things that have taken place since I was last here. I'd even said we had to have 2 shows.
To think in terms of Sir J. Robert Bradley,
Yes.
give us sort of a snapshot of his life and the influence that he had and why he had such influence.
Yes, that's a good question. In the book, I've always been in the hands of God by Amos Jones. It explains that he would say that he had always known how to sing. He never had anything. He'd always known how to sing. And as a little boy, to feed the family, he would have to fish for crayfish in the Mississippi River, I believe it was, near Memphis. And he often referred back to those things, how hard his life was, suffering, great suffering. He speaks of times in his book when they went without food, how his mother walked from Arkansas to Memphis for a better life, and all of the things like that. It's just an incredible life. And in my family, it connects here because through the church, which I come up out of, we were purists. And I learned here that Dr. Bradley was also a purist in the singing.
Okay, so what we'll do, we're going to take a first commercial break.
Okay.
And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Minister Taylor, and he's giving us some information in reference to Sir Robert Bradley, his life and times. As a matter of fact, Minister, we've called this a profile on J. Robert Bradley, Sir J. Robert Bradley, because very, very few people know outside of a strict music career know that much about Bradley. And so bring that information to our audience this morning that we don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Haney. And I'll start with what I heard coming out of Memphis, his birthplace. I was told that Sir J. Robert Bradley today is an unknown superstar. And in his book, we are starting a study course in his book online in the way of telecommunication, as well as through the, I think it's the Pew Library over in the J.C. Neighbor community. And the reason for this start in this area, I believe it's the best way for Dr. Bradley's legacy to flourish again. And he was dirt poor. As a little boy, he had to fish for crayfish in order to put food on the table for the family, and just hard times. And in reference to his singing voice, his father had a great baritone voice, and his mother used to sing when she was pregnant with him, pray that, for him, and ask the Lord to give her a man child. This is before when she became pregnant with him. And she said in her book, her name was Leela Bradley, that she would want to ask the Lord to give her a man child. And people in her book, it says that Leela Bradley had a special communication with the Lord. And she would speak and talk about that. And in the community, they were saying to her when she was pregnant with Dr. Bradley that she was going crazy. She was in the backyard talking about the Lord is going to give me a man child, and he's going to be a servant of the Lord. And today, this is why I see his music as being so important, because the Lady of the Children's Prevention Fund and Dr. Alvin Poussaint both said we have got to go into prenatal to help our kids today. And I see him as a perfect example of that. He sang a long time in the National Baptist Convention. They let him go, and I believe that the Board Convention started to work with him. And all of these things, a great voice. And Dr. Haney, I believe today, this past October the 5th, was his birthday. And on October the 5th, about 3, 4, maybe about 5 years ago, we had his first celebration. We only had one at the Pleasant Green Baptist Church. Dr. Chris Jackson is the executor there of Dr. Bradley's estate. And so I was very excited about this because I have been working since 1977 to do something in the area of the old spirituals of the church. And Du Bois said, it's the greatest gift that the Negro has given to America and most neglected. So we didn't neglect it from the church from which I came from. And so today I just see so many opportunities in Dr. Bradley's life. I believe that his life has laid a foundation for the music in our church, because he was a purist. He didn't believe in jazzing it up. That is in his book. And he talks about that. Several people here know about Dr. J. Robert Bradley, but the lady from Memphis, a friend of mine, said that he's an unknown superstar because his music was not that popular. And I've even found since I've been here in introducing Dr. Bradley's music that the black churches have not been receptive to his music. And so I've even known that it had been said there were those who didn't want to work with me. I didn't mind that. So what I have done is I've taken Dr. Bradley's book. I've always been in the hands of God. And we've connected to Kim Hinton, the Bicentennial Mall. He gave me his book, A Long Path, and I gave him Dr. Bradley's book. And so we have just been being led by the Spirit, and Dr. Bradley often mentioned that in his book, that singing and being led, by the Spirit. And he didn't jazz his music up. He didn't believe in that.
Who were some of his contemporaries? And I think that what you're saying is important about him, but those individuals who might not relate to that, relate some of his contemporaries. I think you mentioned at one time Mahalia Jackson and some of those other individuals, people that might be well known outside of Bradley, but these were the individuals that he had great contact with, and it was through such individuals that his music was spread.
That's right.
Since, for the most part, we don't have that much information in terms of recordings and whatnot that we might have of others. But he did have a contemporary group.
That's right.
And so talk about some of those individuals that fell within that frame.
That's the one that comes to mind in the book, Dr. Charles Bryant. He was at, I think, one of the technical schools here. He taught Dr. Bradley to read music after hours, at the school there. And I can't think of the name of it, but it's the technical school. And he taught him to read music, and he did it after hours. It was illegal to teach a person to read music, and he did it anyway. And Dr. Can't think of his name, Wirtz. Dr. John Wirtz also taught him, to read music. And there are some other great singers. Dr. Mahalia Jackson often said that whenever Bradley sang Amazing Grace, there's no need of anybody else messing with it, And just such a great voice. He had communications in the White House. Here recently, about a year ago, I sent President Trump a copy of his book and pointed out that he sang in Seoul, Korea, and received the Iron Ship Award, which is the highest award in Seoul, Korea. And I can't say it did anything there, can't say that it didn't. But I don't want to hold back something that could help this country and others as well, because that's one of the things Dr. Bradley believed about his music, that it was designed to bring people together and around the world in different places to help them to get along with each other and, things like that. And I can't think of any of the others, but in my hometown, when he would come to First Baptist Church, he worked with the choir, a week of singing, and in Alabama, a church in Anderson, Alabama, he worked with them there. And he traveled with Dr. W.A. Criswell, this great Southern Baptist minister, and they did missionary tours, in India, China, Japan, all these places. And we are hoping, Dr. Haney, that through maybe Sony Records or something like that, Dr. Bradley's legacy may get a second tour.
Well, are there many recordings of Dr. Bradley's singing?
Yes.
And where would you find those, and how would people connect with those?
Okay. First up is the CD and the website, www.jrobertbradley.com. You can get immediate access to his music. And Delco, Dr. Chris Jackson recently shared with me that there's something of his music on Delco, and some of the others. You can pull it up online in a lot of places.
Okay, and so what we're going to do, we're going to take our second break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short break.